Welcome to the new abnormal. This is Fragments of Silicon.
All right. Installments of Fragments of Silicon. Your host Adam. Joining me as always is the regular crew. Let's get to the news. Well, let's see who to start off this week. Twilight, why don't you relay things from the front lines?
Things have been going fairly well. Most of the busyness mostly occurs on Thursdays and Fridays, and at some points during the weekends. And in terms of safety measures, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but we started allowing only one member of a group into the store to keep any potential spreading from happening. Though so far there still have not been any confirmed cases in my county. Um, we've now got plastic shielding up uh, on the registers to for protection, and
Are you are you wearing gloves?
yeah, I'm wearing gloves. Not everybody does, but I do. Um, don't have a mask though, but that's for mostly everybody else. Masks aren't exactly easy to come by, and though I am considering making one of my own. Um, let's see here. Yeah, like I said, things are going fairly well. I've been making sure to um, keep my distance just in case when I visit my family, and uh, that's about it in terms of the usual days. In gaming news, I played Resident Evil 3 during the weekend and finished it on Monday night. Good game, but did not live up to expectations. And
What were
uh,
expectations?
uh, it did not quite live up to Resident Evil 2 remake. Basically, it's still a good game, but I had a I was expecting a little bit more from a certain monster, so to speak. And yeah, there were some things that were cut out. That was in the original game. Eh, I could go more on that later on. Well, that's it for me.
All right, Petty.
Well, we're having a typical northwestern Missouri spring, summer in the daytime and near freezing at night. Yeah, fuck the weather. As far as other stuff, well, my sister ordered my birthday present, so we should be just about done with that stuff. I think my parents still need to get us something. And
Birthday.
my birthday's the 30th.
Hmm.
So they still have a couple paydays. Um, and yeah, just been kind of being at home. You know, occasionally we'll go out to Walmart if we need something, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of boring in here for now. As far as video gaming news, Not a whole lot to report. Still, I think I'm nearly done with Medieval. I'm at the pirate ship level. So, deciding if I want to keep that through Gamefly or to send it in and get something else. And I think that's it for now.
Okay. Well, Golix, it's your turn.
Uh, Pretty much same as it has been. Still going to work with the very few people in the actual office. Um, I actually have some rollover earned time off to use before the end of the month, so I'm taking tomorrow off, and then my birthday's next Monday, so I'm taking that off.
Oh, man.
And then I don't know, maybe another day before the end of the month or so. It's just a little bit hard because there's not really a whole lot to do with my time off, so.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's still frustrating to not be able to do most of my, normal stuff. Parents seem to be holding up okay. My sister's still stressed out, but she's doing fine. And haven't really been doing that much interesting video game wise because I actually have still been working the normal schedule. So otherwise, I'm sure I would have been diving into something or other. So it's been nice weather the last couple days, but it's supposed to be really crappy weather tomorrow. So the weather's been on and off, but Saska, New England spring. I guess that's about it.
I guess it's time for my news.
Yep.
Where to start? Well, it's not so much my news as it's more Mac's news, as he's resurfaced recently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's see where to start here. I suppose he says he's trying to get his shows back up, but he's run into some computer problems. Like, what did he say? Sorry.
Something about Explorer fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently corrupted the Windows update.
Yeah, corrupted Windows updates. I think he's using an Acer all-in-one from maybe 10 years ago to do this. I'm like the way his retro gaming emporium program is supposed to work is the name is a bit of a misnomer because he's doing the retro stuff, but Keith is also involved and he's doing modern stuff. So I presume that the modern stuff is still on the table there. I'm trying to remember the scheduling here. Wake this up. Retro. I don't think he gave a time or a day. I think it's Fridays or something or Tuesdays?
Something like that. I think you mentioned Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It's though he does have to work Fridays.
Yeah.
I know it's it was just a lot of information all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, plus, once again, this is beset by issues. Apparently, he had a good beta test run with Tales of Fantasia, but he's not that familiar with Twitch's quirks yet.
Twitch's Twitchery.
Yeah, as in he didn't know how to save his broadcast. So, he whenever he gets his computer up and running, that'll be like the official launch of the retro section. I think Keith is already doing the Batman Arkham Asylum, which I think just qualifies as old right now.
Yeah.
Not
Mhm.
retro yet. Not new, but also not retro yet.
It's from 2009, so just old. Retro is like you're dipping 20, 25 years, something like that. Now,
Mhm.
it's a bit, you know, it's still a too little amount of time for Batman Arkham Asylum, even the first one, to be called retro. You know, especially since that game still has
Yeah,
like
I don't think anything newer than GameCube is currently retro.
maybe you could make an argument for like really early Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 um, games because we are talking about like 2005 and 2006 and um, you know that is brushing up against you know late era Xbox and GameCube, and the PlayStation 2 like ran all the way to the end of the decade there.
Yeah.
It's just the thing of the seventh generation is it lasted a fucking just a long ass time. Like it was seriously about 10 years.
Mhm.
Now,
Indeed.
we went from like 2005 to 2013, and even with the new consoles out, the previous generation stuck around for a couple more years.
Mhm.
But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I you know, I suppose the bigger news in regards to this channel is if you're watching this live, or you might have already seen, like we mentioned it on the Sunday broadcasts, but the affiliate stuff has been activated.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! All praise the magic
So
sub
cheer for
button.
us.
Yes. So that means the call to actions are in. Um, you um, Specifically, hit the cheer button.
Also, there's a
And
joke
also,
about Twitch Prime in there somewhere.
yeah, also, buy the bits and donate the bits. You'll forgive us if this sounds a bit robotic right now. This literally happened like a few days ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we
Matt
have to do this because this is part of the metrics of the service. So
yes,
Meanwhile, well, it feels like it's ripping our souls out.
like I said, something we'll get used to.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's like this is a thing we've been talking about doing for years, and you know, just had to wait for Mac to do certain things, and it finally happened on Sunday evening or
Mm.
Saturday evening, actually. Like it was kind of Sunday to into like Saturday into Sunday. Like he showed up like 11:30 or ish my time, and that went into Sunday. So you know, point is, all of the affiliation links are in there, and we've got the affiliation stuff, as in we've got emotes and sounds.
Well, we don't have emotes started up yet, but
I
we'll
think
get
we
them.
got a slot for like one.
Yeah, I'm
One
like,
or two somewhere in there.
yeah. Point of order is custom stuff is coming. It's going to be a bit of time because
Mhm.
once again, you know, it was really like waiting for. It's like Godot finally fucking showed up.
Mhm.
You weren't expecting that to happen.
Yeah, and also finding artists who were
Finding artists is not the
well,
problem. It's
yeah. I was
Mac,
more that
Mac
kind of
and
stuff.
Keith are artists. They can do the emotes.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. Like custom sounds would be the bigger issue here. Because I suppose Keith could do that because he's also musically inclined.
Mhm.
So point is there are there are resources on those avenues that are open to us. How successful the whole bits brigade is going to be, hard to say. I mean, this week I'm not expecting anything because we have no guest. About that. That's the effects of the coronavirus. The coronavirus is um, playing very mean and rough games right now. Not just in ways you would expect, like everything outdoors is canceled. It's also because people are stuffed indoors together. Like this week's guest requested a delay of a month because things are disordered on his end. Wouldn't go into specifics, but next week's guests are in peril because he's in self isolation and he's got a family, including kids. So that's a bit of a stumbling block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is also why we're kind of disjointed this week because, all of this happened like very recently. Um, anyway, so yeah, monetization is a thing. Um, Custom stuff is on the way. Be sure to do the cheers, and buy the bits. Let's see. Finally, in other news, we are working on a collaboration project. I suppose is a good way of putting it. That is to say, Mac finally found his and transferred his Star Trek 25th anniversary footage to a digital format. If you don't remember what this is, I don't blame you because this was talked about like ages ago.
Something before some of our viewers were born.
Feels that way.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, so basically, like I think around the time of this game's release, Mac recorded the footage for it, and he basically wants us to do a not a let's play. This is called a let's watch because nobody is playing anything here. It's all.
I mean, plenty of people do post.
Yeah,
Commentary.
I guess you could also call this very, 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 very late post commentary
Yeah.
play.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are talking about 20, 25 years. Like seriously, this footage is pretty old. It's gonna look pretty VHS-tastic. I mean, just from what I've seen, which hasn't been much, but it's like it's about what you would expect from VHS in say 1990 or it's like sometime in the early 90s when this was recorded. And so how this is going to work is Mac is billing it as a series finale to the original MSP show. As in, this crew here is going to cross over with Mac and Keith and riff on this thing, which is about an hour and 15 or so minutes. I think a little less here, but it's a project that will be released in 4 parts. And the thing right now is we are trying to nail down when we are going to actually record this.
Mm-hmm.
I have suggested next Friday, and Team MSP is currently working through their work schedule to see if that's viable. More updates on that as they happen. Anyway, so I suppose that concludes the news this week. Quite a lot of news.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so as usual, this is the part where we would roll on to the interview portion, but once again, we don't have an interview. So
This is where I'd put my interview if I had one.
More or less. Like, but since we don't have an interview, this is where we put our on and off let's play of 80 days. Like, I'm trying to remember exactly where we left off.
Somewhere in the Near East.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that more.
Something
But
like that.
the only thing I remember from last session was Passepartout turning into a fucking knife wielding psychopath. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
you know,
like you would want to do when you're traveling around the world in 80 days.
yeah, it's like, you know, Passepartout should not be allowed around blunt or sharp objects. He will use like or a cigarette. I think that happened.
Yeah, I think there was something about a cigarette in there.
Yeah, he put out a cigarette on a person. Like I said, we've turned John here into a fucking into American Psycho.
Oh, he's in Europe.
Yes,
Yeah, America's like really late.
Yeah.
you know. All right. Let's see. So let's find out where the hell we were. Like,
I think that's somewhere in Russia.
the globe is supposed to be spinning this fast.
Oh,
I'm busy.
I'm doing that.
All right. So we were in Thessaloniki.
Thessaloniki, that's in Greece.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, all right. And shit, where the fuck were we going?
Uh,
Yeah, we might want to reestablish our route.
Well, I guess we should go do that.
I mean, if we were doing a real Let's Play, we would probably do it more often.
Well,
all right.
Yeah. You know,
If we were doing a committed Let's Play rather than just one to fill in time.
Weren't we trying to get to Istanbul?
Yeah, I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
Istanbul, not Constantinople.
All right, so yeah, that's tomorrow at 10.
Okay. I guess in the meantime, we should find out why Istanbul got
Why Constantinople got the works?
Yeah, there we go. Like, quoted the wrong part. Like, has been a bit of time since I listened to that song.
Oh man, new routes. Oof.
You okay over there?
Yeah,
Take a shot to the solar plexus?
possibly.
Concerning. What did your cat jump into your stomach?
No, I just shifted and my knee bumped into something.
Ouch.
All right, so let's see. So what do we want to go with here?
Oh, let's see. They are unpaid laborers for their state. Now, workers of the world unite.
Overthrow the proletariat?
Try not to be as obnoxious as.
Wait, overthrow the proletariat?
I mean, overthrowing the proletariat would be an issue because, you know, unpaid laborers would be the proletariat.
I know.
Indeed.
Well, it's like, you know, despite what Twitter thinks, not a lot of people talk about communism these days.
Okay, yeah, outside of the internet.
Yeah. You know, we'll go into more detail on that in the post show. Let's see. I stopped a young woman and asked what they were doing. Okay. Apparently, this young woman is planning to conquer northern Greece. A mighty prize. Just to say on the insane good side.
She Turkish?
I have no idea. They didn't
No,
give her.
I'm wondering.
I'm like, I don't think
They have some history, the Greeks and the Turks.
Yes, I know, but this is like during the time of the Ottoman Empire, so I don't think this would be a Turk. I scurried away lest I lose my hat. Like, you know, why the fuck would we, you know?
Indeed.
Okay, so we are going Istanbul.
Yes.
All right. So I guess we just sleep for now.
Yes. It's time to build a birdhouse in our soul.
Okay then.
I can quote more than just one They Might Be Giants song.
I
Indeed.
can quote quite a few, but most of them aren't very, apropos.
I know, but that one worked. Let's see. I want.
I mean, there's only so much to say that describes how you're feeling all the time.
Sam in your bonnet. Anyway, not to put a too fine a point on it, but let's pick a choice here. Washed and hung our linen. I helped the kitchen staff to clean. Do we really want him in the kitchen?
They get trapped there.
He's
Ghost
resupplying.
would be the option that might get us information.
Yeah, let's go with that one. Yeah. Somewhat frenetic Italian girl who's searching for a dog. Okay, random. Let's see how this plays out. Which I found near the clock. Girl thanked me and we talked to obtain stopwatches in Odessa. You could sell for profit in Moscow. I don't think we're heading to Odessa.
Yeah.
Odessa's
No.
what, in the Ukraine? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're a little too far south for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I thanked her.
Yeah. I assured her that we were unlikely to head that way.
All right, so depart.
I can't say I disagree. I'm sure there's a story there that we don't really care about.
Oh, apparently we can grab another suitcase if we wish, or we can just head there.
Let's check our suitcase.
Most of the ways we've ended up traveling have only had room for 2 suitcases.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, might want to keep it here because we might have to get rid of it. So let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically Odessa to Moscow would be a viable thing, but we're south of there significantly.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't think we have a route.
We boarded a train promptly despite a crazy man who blocked our path. I moved him gently aside.
I thought you were the
It was
crazy
enough
man.
crimes as it is.
And made sure he did not touch my master. Like, okay. I'm going to assume by gently he means only 3 slugs to the face.
And 1 knife in the lungs.
Yeah.
I guess converse.
Yeah. When he has to get angry, he does a couple dozen kicks to the balls.
Oh God! So where do we want to go from Istanbul?
Well, I suppose it depends what routes are open when we get there.
Yeah.
Like, definitely not Istanbul to Athens. We want to go east.
Athens is east. No, it isn't. Never mind.
Yeah, not from Istanbul. I guess Anatolia. I don't know where that is.
I would have said Sophia. That's it. No, wait. Are we?
Sofia's in Bulgaria. That's once again. That's going in
Oh,
the
right. That's where we came from.
yes. Yeah, it looks like Anatolia will get us to the direction we want to go. You know, I'm seeing Baghdad and Tehran. We probably want Tehran.
Yeah.
Antalya is almost straight south.
Let's see. Does it really matter here? I guess terribly slow. Let's ask about journeys to the Middle East. That could open up some things.
Mm-hmm.
Egypt to Luxor, Alexandria. Those are not things that we want to visit, given the way we are going. I mean, I guess if we're going from Istanbul,
All right. Market.
okay.
Moscow.
Let's see. Anything worth selling?
Not that I can see. Though Southern Hemisphere timetable might be useful. We're pretty much out of.
We're not if we're.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we grab the third suitcase, we can carry it. Let's see.
Where were we going to sell that absinthe? I think we were going to sell that in Istanbul.
Moscow is
Yeah.
where it's worth the most.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, we're not going to find Moscow now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is what happens when you don't remember shit between sessions.
Well, no, we I believe at the end of last time we were having an impossible time getting an actual route to Moscow.
Right.
Should we get the ear sickness pills just in case?
I'm thinking more the railway whistle. Like, you know,
What does
we're
the railway
probably
whistle do?
I don't think it does anything.
part of
Yeah,
the
it's part of a
railway.
set.
Yeah. So, okay, what does the air sickness pill? Do they actually cure air sickness?
No, I think they're just you sell them to someone or bribe someone with them.
Well, then grab those.
All
How
right.
much can you sell the absinthe for?
140.
Yeah, that's still.
Might as well.
I think we're still making a profit.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to grab?
I don't think so.
Let's see. Does the driving goggles do anything?
No,
It's
they're
part of the
They're
set.
also part of an outfit set.
Yeah, sometimes you guys need to be more acquainted with The Simpsons.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. See, goggles do nothing.
Yeah, well, they kind of do something if you get the whole set, I think, but I don't know what.
Never mind.
I know that I am familiar with the reference.
Yeah.
So do we want to get out of here and look at what routes we have?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Plan. All right. So it looks like we only have.
The one route.
Yeah. Unless we
Looks like the absence is going to be paying for that.
Mhm.
£20.
So I guess hotel.
Yeah. I'm like, seriously, what does this guy get up to? You know, it came back to me all too clearly. I'm like, sounds like somebody had an extra bottle of absinthe lying around.
Something like that.
I thought we sold that. Why the hell did you drink it?
See, nosy on menu in the tavern. Cups of raki. Potent local liquor. Smelling Greek merchants telling me of harem. Let's see. Concubines of the Sultan. Like,
Oh, fuck.
but
That was my bad.
on I took his word as a challenge. Yeah, that seems like the thing that our character here would do.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm like,
We've
the fuck. Let's see. I could decide. I could disguise myself as a repair woman. I mean, if we're going full wacky Andy,
When you get pulled aside and ask how much absinthe you drank.
yeah. Well, no, he drank raki, which is an ash flattener in its own right.
Jesus.
Let's see. Faulty steam. Okay. I had been summoned to see. Do we want the many ornate luxuries bath or the water boiler used for serving tea? Who the fuck uses a water boiler for tea?
So I think we're still going on the path of psychosis then.
I think the first one makes more sense.
Yeah, it's like go with the baths.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm sure a prince of the Ottoman Empire could do that. I don't think that would be in good social standing to get their water from a fucking boiler.
I tried to reason with her.
Let's go with that. I mean, I'm sure this is going to eventually end up with violence.
That's how it seems to go at this point.
Surprisingly, no. That seemed to resolve without incident. Like, a bit of an anticlimax there.
And then we stab Mr. Frog with a fucking butter knife.
Let's see. Let us never speak of this again.
Greed.
Sometimes I confess I do admire the English.
Keep calm and keep the skeletons in the closet.
Yeah.
So do we want to explore and see if we can find some new routes, or do we just want them to go?
Probably better to go.
Yeah. Get out of Dodge while we can.
Before Jean ends up in a sack.
I believe we did get a thing for that.
I'm not seeing anything.
All right, then I guess we explore.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a nice little line there.
Jeez, where the fuck is that one going? All right. Blue moss. Let's see. We want to go back to the Grand Bazaar. I don't think we need to buy anything, so let's take in the sights. Let's go with the mosques. Carriages?
And a mob gathering on a street corner.
Oh, no.
Let's go with the mob.
I have a feeling we might regret this.
Has stopped us before. I mean, look, John here is just filled with regrets from yesterday. Uh, ask someone to explain their grievance.
Hello, good sir. What are you rioting about?
Fuck the police. Wait.
Let's see. Protest against the Sultan's so-called modernization.
Mm,
Well, I'm like, what does that entail? Like, we don't really have enough information to make a judgment call.
indeed.
I guess a worthy cause, because I don't think we want to get mobbed by the
Yeah.
mob.
Indeed.
Huh. Oh, we are still in fucking disguise.
Fuck.
I think we do have spare clothes in our pack. They're probably supposed to be for Mr. Fogg, but
Clearly, that we haven't taken time out to extricate ourselves from the harem garments. Let's see.
I guess our guy enjoys the outfit.
Yeah. I felt quite at home. I'm not pronouncing that word.
what? Oh, yeah.
I'm like, or that word. You can make with
Janissary is not hard.
Yeah. That's not the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, Mashrutiyat is. I think that's like the. I think Mashruti is the single, and that's like the plural form, or so. I don't know.
Well, it says right there, constitutional monarchy. I let him lead the way. I'm like,
Let's go. Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Yuck.
Clearly, there was a time that there was a point in time to stop. We have clearly passed it. Let's see what lies beyond. I'm like,
train ourselves stopping it now.
I was wearing silk, so performed a complex negotiation between a veil and a coffee cup.
Well, trying to drink with the veil on.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to picture how goofy that's going. Like, this has become a fucking one of those Road to X movies.
A little bit.
I mean, technically, isn't it still though?
Yeah. So let's go with coffee cup. Like, escaping to Beirut. Let's see. Once again, let's say consider it, because I don't feel like getting a scimitar to the neck.
Hey, if we could.
Before.
Oh no, wait, Beirut is the wrong direction, isn't it?
No. It is.
Hey, we got a better route than we had out of that. So
Yeah, we got a couple routes.
Yes, we just had to go through a BBC comedy first.
So do we want to try to go the really long one, or go to Beirut and see what happens there?
Let's go to Beirut.
Oh yeah, that's inexpensive.
Oh, because we're taking a balloon.
Yeah.
I maintained my female disguise.
Let's go with that.
Fucking Monsieur Fogg is like, what the hell are you doing, lad?
Yeah, where is Fogg?
Yeah, where is he now?
Okay, hang on. I seized it with enthusiasm while waiting for the chance to kick him over the edge.
Oh.
Relations with Fogg have deteriorated slightly. Define slightly.
He's disappointed in you, but we are making progress.
Yep.
Ah, the wind is too much for the good gentleman's constitution.
The wind in my hair. It was enough to make it to droop a man's mustache, or enough to raise a man's spirits. Well, considering the wind out there, probably spirits. Like, I don't like. It sounds like it's a kind of a windy day.
Except for Mr. Fogg's, of course.
Of course. Doo-doo.
he's commenting on
Yes.
it.
Passports out. Oh God! How close? Oh, oh yes, we are the closest of companions. He is my cousin.
I feared the poor boy was about to make a fool of himself.
God, there's some.
I'm
good
pretty sure if we did number 3, we'd just be hitting back the head with his cane.
Probably. Do we want? Do we want outer scouts, Japanese or American?
God damn it!
Like, wit can be a dangerous thing.
Yes, it can.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with companions.
Yeah.
So Japanese it is then.
A servant.
I mean, technically, we are his manservant.
Servant would probably be best.
Mm-hmm.
But said nothing.
We're going to have to take care of him after this, I think.
I mean, we're down to 79, so we're not doing too badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also don't want him to get mad.
True enough. Let's see. I'd say rather tense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh dear.
I stared in alarm.
Let's go with race.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is why we need the option to kick this guy out of the fucking balloon. Your character is now polished. What?
There's an ongoing statistical tracker of what character traits you have.
No, polished is just not what I was expecting out of this.
Yeah, I don't know what that
like.
So I guess, do we want to check the market?
Sounds good to me.
Well, we need to explore, but yeah, market isn't bad either.
Actually, I think this is a good time to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm saying, it's 10:20.
See,
Oh.
we did get a set of harem silks.
Yep.
All right.
Well, Yeah, so that's about it for this.
We could
moment.
definitely sell the European train timetable.
Yeah, because we can do that next time. Because, yeah, I think we're done with Europe for now.
Yeah, well, we're in Asia Minor, or I guess a little bit south of that. Like, point is, we are what is culturally considered to be Asia.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, there are only 6 continents at most. Like, Europe is not an actual continent.
I mean, it's a bit geologically and geographically, yeah.
I mean, you could make the argument that about Africa being connected there as well.
Africa's on a different plate, at least. Europe and
Yes.
Asia don't have any kind of fault or anything in between them. It's just one big thing, mostly.
Anyway, I suppose enough with the geology lessons. Let's get over to the topic of discussion.
Alrighty.
Going to be a bit because Petty has to transition from game to game here.
Uh-huh.
All right, so welcome to the topic of discussion. This week we are talking about Doom 64. Like, now if you bought,
AKA the one that would have been Doom 3 if it wasn't on the N64.
so okay, Doom 64 is actually Doom 3. Like, I know it's not called Doom 3, but in terms of the story, it is the canonical third Doom.
Right, there's just some kind of law that for Nintendo 64 games having a number on the end that isn't N64 unless the previous one was also on the N64.
Yeah, it was the stupid naming convention of Nintendo consoles. Like, thankfully, that's all kind of gone away. Like, you don't get much being called something Switch. But yeah, it's like 64. We are talking about this because if you bought Doom Eternal, this was a pre-order bonus, and Doom 64 is was for a long time the most obscure like Doom game that wasn't a mod.
Mm-hmm.
And though it should be noted that Doom 64 did get a mod conversion back in the day, well before this official release. But anyway, so Doom 64. Where to start with this? Right, so this is the last iteration of classic Doom as well. And even then, it's not quite classic Doom. That is to say, like, to organize the thoughts here, Doom 64 is an original Doom game that was completely built for the ground up for the Nintendo 64. Though it is using the Doom engine or the id Tech 1 engine, or id Tech 2, if I'm recalling correctly. I think Wolfenstein 3D is id Tech 1. I don't know, it's like id Tech really wasn't a thing until, say, about Rage. So we just called it the Doom engine. And the Doom engine really does suffice here because while it's heavily modified, it's still the classic Doom engine. So the game does play like classic Doom. In terms of its pure mechanics. Granted, it maybe played a bit differently because on the N64 because circle pad and controller versus PC and mouse. The thing is, since this was the Doom engine, playing the game was probably an easier affair than, say, Turok or GoldenEye. Because, well, Doom 64 has a lot more auto aim than the PC Doom games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just your hit scanned weapons that the target enemies. It's shit like your rockets are also targeting. They will go flying towards enemies. You know, not not a. It's not perfect like the hit scanners are, but still, there's a you can see the rockets targeting like the Hell Knight above you or something like that. You know, and that's kind of the reason why that was done. Um, Doom 64 features the most complex geometry of the classic Doom sets because even though like all of the enemies and such are still sprite based, and since this is the Doom engine, uh, you can't look up or down. Uh, this game does have a lot more in the way of true 3D architecture. And, like one of the biggest innovations is this thing has actual stairs. If you've ever played like classic Doom or Doom 2, they had to kind of fudge the engine to actually get stairs in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here the engine's been modified enough where they could build that from, actual tools.
Yeah, because this is a rather more polygonally oriented system than the format that it was originally designed for.
Right. And once again, this is probably the last game period that got released on the Doom engine as well, because even in 1997, the, like this game was looking pretty creaky.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of all of the its aesthetics are radically reimagined because this game was not developed by id Software. It was developed by um, Midway Games, like an internal team at Midway Games. And, id Software supervised, but the team that made Doom 64 clearly had a lot of leeway in terms of creative direction because Doom 64, instead of having your typical Doom aesthetics, goes for something more akin to Quake. Not quite as gothic, but definitely darker, like literally darker. Um, if you played like Doom 64 on the N64, you know how dark this game got. Like literally, you
Yeah,
had to. I had to crank up the gamma all the way just to see.
same.
Um, and with the re-release here, the brightness has been up to quite a bit, so you can see. Um, but outside of the darkness contrast, just the look of the game is a lot more shockingly colorful.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not dealing with the darkness, you get very brightly, like very deep, vibrant violets and yellows and greens. It's a color scheme that's very alien to Doom. At least based on the PC versions, because the PC versions, they were very firm believers in the realist brown motif.
Or red.
Yeah, red too.
Mm-hmm.
But point is more bright earth tony stuff. I mean, you look at the base here, and you got yellow hues. How many of the and green hues, and like this is just not a color palette that you're used to seeing in Doom.
I'm pretty sure John Romero would have killed a man.
But he's already dead. His head was the final boss of Doom 2.
Right. And as you can also see here, the Doom baddies have been reimagined.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once again, their looks are different. They act like their classic Doom counterparts. Um, it's just everything in the game was redone in terms of art assets from the ground up. Like new models for just about everything. Um, Granted, some monsters are more stark than others. Like you're not really seeing too much of an hour difference, like between Doom 64's imps and classic imps. There is a difference, but you do have to look for it a bit. Versus like when you fight the demons, the pinkies, um, they look very different than their um, Doom Classic counterparts. In fact, like the demons and the specters in this game, they actually look like monsters. They actually look like fully serious monsters, as opposed to the more goofy pinkies of Classic Doom. Now, enemy selection was a bit odd for Doom 64 because it's a mixture of Doom and Doom 2 enemies. Um, but not everyone made the cut. Like you've got most of the classic Doom 1 sets, with one big exception, and that's the Spider Mastermind. Yeah, the final boss of Doom 1 does not appear in the game for whatever reason. It's made more perplexing because the mini version of the Spider Mastermind, the Arachnotron, they are in the game. You know, along with other Doom 2 monsters like the Pain Elemental and the Mancubus. But some of the Doom 2 monsters that did make it in were like the Revenant and the Archvile. And I am so fine with the Archvile not being in this game or any game. I'm like, look, fuck the Archvile and his regeneration shit. You know. Though this game also has a new enemy, though the newness is not that impressive because, well, you just saw it. It's the Nightmare Imp. The Nightmare Imp is, well, an imp who is blue, bit faster, bit stronger, and its blue fireballs hurt a bit more. You know, that's about it.
So your typical
Also,
palette swap.
yeah, also semi-translucent, not as translucent as a Spectre is, but more translucent than a regular imp. You know, a harmless addition, but you can kind of see why the Nightmare Imp really didn't become a thing outside of this game either, unless it appeared in Doom Eternal. Uh, Weapon selection, once again, pretty much the same case as the other bits of Doom 64 here. Mechanically, they are the same, but they have been radically revamped in terms of their aesthetics. Either in terms of their looks or like, for example, the super shotgun. It doesn't have the classic the breech loading animations anymore. It just kind of clicks. You can see with the fists, instead of brass knuckles, you got bloody gloves.
Mm-hmm.
The rocket launcher here is much more in line with its Quake incarnation. Let's see, the chainsaws, one of the most stark changes, because instead of it being a chainsaw, it's a double chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh man, twice the chain for twice the sawing.
Right. I don't think that does any more damage. Somebody would have to make a fucking YouTube analytic video to determine that, and we ain't those guys.
Yeah.
You know, and the plasma gun and the BFG 9000 are here as well. Those are just weapons for later. The new addition in terms of weapons is something that had a bit more of a lasting impact, in the fact that they brought, like, and I'm assuming this is one of the big reasons why Doom 64 got resuscitated. Maybe if I can nail Night Dive, they can tell me why Doom 64 was revived. But anyway, there is a weapon called the Maker, which is located in the hidden levels of Doom 64. And it's a series first because the Unmaker is the first upgradable Doom weapon. Indeed, like, just getting the Unmaker is part of the equation, because there are
3 demon runes, and each of them will upgrade the Unmaker. The first one will make the projectiles go faster, the lasers, and the second and third ones will add another laser, so you can get 3 lasers. And also, the fully powered Unmaker's lasers can go in different directions. They can independently target a target. So yeah, a fully powered up Unmaker is.
But they auto target things that are within your field of view.
Been a while. I haven't gotten the fully upgraded version, but I think that's how it worked. You know, you know, I've been playing a bit. Like I'm about at level 7 right now, and this game, in terms of levels, it's got 28 regular levels in its original campaign. Well, not in a bit, and it's got 4 hidden levels. 3 of them are the aforementioned demon rune levels, and then there's level 32, if I'm remember, or 31. Um, it's the level called Hectic, and it's a level that has infamous reputation, as in it's one of the hardest Doom levels ever created. Um, and I, having played it the other day and spending about 2 hours on it, I'm tending to agree, because well, the hectic level is pure Kaizo trash. If I'm being honest, you
Are there
snicker, but
floors that you can fall through?
yes, I'm like fucking yes. I'm like, yeah, looking at you, fucking Hell Knight Pit. God, the amount of times I had to reload my save because I fell into the goddamn pit. Now, yeah, it's a thing that it's a thing that's there, and it's got other sneaky trap things. Like there's a whole bunch of power ups, but if you grab them, you die. Um, if you grab the keys, bad things will happen either via enemy or trap or both. Um, and the reason to do hectic is pure bragging rights, by the way. None of the demon runes or the unmaker are on that level. The only advantage you get is you can get the rocket launcher early, because the way you access hectic is on the first level. What you got to do there is you got to shoot all the barrels, and that in a in a limited amount of time. Let's say I'm not sure exactly how much time, but you know you got to do the level pretty fast, and like right at the beginning of the level, there will be a secret teleporter that'll take you to Hectic, um, for veterans only. And the nice thing is, if you don't feel like doing Hectic, there's a uh, there is a warp portal that'll just take you out of there. Like, the developers knew how fucking infuriatingly difficult this level was. So if you get there, you're not stuck there. Also worth noting, the PC version does make it easier because you can save anywhere. Doom 64 did on the N64 did not have this luxury. Oh no, Doom 64, you either had a password. Uh, or I think if you had a controller pack, you could save. Once again, it's been a long ass time since I played the N64 version.
I guess something of note is there also the passwords still work in the PC Doom 64.
As do the cheats.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, if you turn on the cheats, you won't get the achievements, which is standard stuff.
Yeah.
I wish more games would fucking do this. Like, turn off the achievements and, have some fucking cheats.
Well, big head mode, damn it.
Yeah, I'm not. And by the way, I'm not talking about like the AAA set. Look, that you're just gonna have to pay for that shit now and like it. That's just the way the world is now. But I'm like, indie games, you're not charging $2 for a costume pack most of the time. Clearly there are indie titles that do this, but like you don't have to do that in fucking Celeste or Axiom Verge and so on and so forth. you can have cheats if you want to. It's one of the reasons I like. It's one of the many reasons I like Shovel Knight so much. They had old school cheats. But yeah, cheats are cheats are pretty readily accessible. Although, interestingly enough, they added the keyboard prompt to this game. Like if you hit the tilde button, it'll bring up the old DOS prompt, which is interesting because that was not a thing in the original version of Doom 64. Also, that being said, Doom 64, even taking the Kaizo level out of the equation, is probably on balance the hardest of the Doom games. Because what is this, level 3, level 4, and you're squaring down on Keiko demons and Hell Knights already. Monsters that would appear much later in the game. And you will fight
demons in Doom really throw me off because they're like pretty scary in Doom, and in Pathfinder they're like literally like the size of a soccer ball, and in D&D in general.
Right. Like, also, you will fight a lot more in the way of Hell Knights. I'm like, this game is the reason why Hell Knights are so etched into my mind when it comes to Doom games. They're not that common in Doom 2, but here, oh god, you will encounter a fuck ton of Hell Knights. And Barons of Hell will show up sooner rather than later. But they're not. As far as the Cyber Demon goes, you'll have a couple encounters with him, and he's still the fucking Cyber Demon, so he's gonna be fucking hard to kill. Let's see. Now, in terms of the re-release here, outside of the things we've shown, there is a new campaign called The Lost Levels. I'm not sure if that was
Does it have poison mushrooms?
No, I don't know exactly what the Lost Levels entail because I haven't played those yet. Other than it's the direct connection between the Doom 64 here and the Doom 16 lineage, let's call it. That level connects directly into the lore of Doom 2016. As to how, once again, I haven't looked that up. Like, I've seen YouTube videos mentioning it, but I haven't watched that yet. Oh, right. Did almost forget, there is a unique boss to this game, and that is the Mother of All Demons. The end boss here, another Doom first, as the Mother of All Demons is the first Doom monster to have two projectiles.
Meaning you can shoot more than one different thing?
Yes, at once. Like, there are the ground flames, and then there are, like, the shot projectiles. I forget what they're called, but, she can do those at once. I'm assuming that the Mother of Demons' sister is a palette swap, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, as in other things with the Doom 64 re-release here, it is a classic remastering. It's been bumped up to modern day resolutions, as in you can play this game up to 40K if you want. I'm honestly not sure how much you're getting at that level, because this is still an N64 game. But if you want to do that, hell, you can even get 1440p on the Xbox One X. Once again, this is what happens when you have an N64 game and bumping it up to insane resolutions. Oh, right, the music. So the music is probably the biggest, most radical reinterpretation of Doom here. Because while a lot of Doom, it's like it looks different, but, it's still functionally Doom. in its pure mechanics. Same can't be said for the music. I mean, you know what the sound of Doom is, right? You know, hard, heavy metal in MIDI form. Doom 64, it's ambient, discordant noise. Something more akin out of like Silent Hill than Doom. Like closer to Quake than Doom. But it fits the aesthetic that they're going for here. Now, and I could bang on about Doom 64 because, I had this game back in the day, and yeah, I played the shit out of it because when you only have an N64, like in early 1997, games are hard to fucking come by. Now, granted, it wasn't all that expensive to get Doom 64 because Doom 64 did not do well at the box office, so to speak. People either thought it looked like an ancient game. Like Doom 64 came out right in between Turok and GoldenEye. Two of, if not the defining FPS games for the Nintendo 64. And Doom 64 comes here, with its sprites and inability to look up and down, and looked a bit creaky. Not gonna lie. I mean, honestly, it plays smoother than either of those games on the N64 because it being a sprite-based shooter, it could maintain a consistent frame rate. None of that 20 FPS is good enough. Like, and believe me, that kind of FPS shit played a lot of N64 games. Like, I still remember GoldenEye doing that. And if they didn't like the look of the game, they thought it was the original game just ported to the N64, or they didn't like it because it has no multiplayer. And yeah, Doom 64, they experimented with the multiplayer, but they didn't like the implementation. Now, keep in mind, once again, this game came out before GoldenEye. Before GoldenEye showed what you could do with 4-player split screen at an FPS on the N64. I'll also note Turok Dinosaur Hunter, the first one, didn't have a multiplayer campaign either. Turok 2 did. So I do think if Doom 64 had come out, later in that year, they would have delayed it to have a multiplayer segment in there. In fact, like Hexen for the N64 has a 4-player co-op multiplayer.
I mean, the N64 was specifically designed to be able to do 4-player multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's just, in the very early days, not every developer had taken that in mind. I'll be honest, Doom 64 is my favorite classic Doom. But once again, a lot of it has to do with my own nostalgia. Like Doom 64, I played the original Doom, but after Doom 64. I do remember playing it like Doom in 1997, 1998, somewhere along those lines. But played Doom 64 first, so that was for a long time the Doom I was most familiar with, and I didn't play Doom 2 until much later. Right. So, any other words from you guys about Doom 64?
It's all right.
Well, I figured you would like it, Petty, because it's a classic 90s FPS.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have anything to contribute on this. Of the very few Nintendo 64 games I had, this isn't one of them. I don't think my parents would have really gone in for it.
Probably not.
It's one of those games I regret not playing back then, but back then I didn't have any interest in FPSs.
Like I said,
I mean, it's interesting to learn about,
Mm-hmm.
but I never had much interest in playing it.
Right. Anyway, so that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Coming up on the week ahead. Oh, let's see. No Friday show this week. And coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Crystal Picnic. This is a weird fusion of, let's say, Secret of Mana top-down adventuring and Smash Brothers brawling. I'm like, I wish it were better than it was. More on that on Sunday. Let's see, we've got Reed remastered for the Nintendo Switch, which means that's Golic's review. Hidden Through Time, Twilight Winter,
Mm-hmm.
and Micron Wars XR, another game that I have, and I think get to that to Petty. This is another in a line of very basic shmup games. It does have a bit of a unique gimmick in the sense that it's not it's not a traditional horizontal or vertical shmup. It's kind of an open 360 degrees shmup. Emphasis on the circle here because that's how you pilot the ship. You move in circles.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Right. So that's what's on tap on Sunday. So until then, I shall wish you good gaming.